This is about to really hurt some people's feelings, so if you a little sensitive, you might as well turn this joint off right now. Okay?
Hi guys, what is up? What is good? What is Gucci? It is your girl Paige back at it again with yet another video for you hoes. Okay, so today I thought I would come through with a video rather than just doing another live stream for you guys, because honestly I only have a few more points to make. This is all in relation to the story it is that I have been covering to do with the Willy Mac Show versus Pastel Belle, aka Belle Aubrey. Now, as you guys know, I did a 4-hour live stream. It was a long live stream. We had a lot of people come in. We had Keemstar come in. We had Repzilla come in. We had Tipster come in. We had Redski come in. Gosh, we had Cringy come in. We had a bunch of different content creators come in and impart their thoughts and their knowledge on the entire situation. I honestly think it was a lovely piece of positive discourse, and it was actually really great to see so many communities come together and have a conversation regarding something so important in the community, which is somebody else's life, somebody else's mental health, possibly being attacked in a manner that we do not want to see here on the YouTube platform. I feel like a lot of us pretty much came to a general consensus that everybody just simply wants the best for Eugenia Cooney, and sometimes maybe having a conversation about somebody's mental health and physical appearance isn't the best way to handle sensitive topics such as anorexia nervosa and other eating disorders. With that being said, we have now since had Belle Aubrey come forward with another video in retaliation to the Willy Mac Show. A lot of people have said to me that this particular video was a better response from Belle. A lot of people were digging this kind of response from Belle. But I basically just wanted to watch it for myself to see what it is that I thought about the entire situation. So let's take a look.
Aware, there's a small group of creators out there who are trying very vigorously to spread the narrative that I hate Eugenia Cooney for whatever reason, and that I'm trying to bully and harass her in order to foment hate against me. Me calling out the predators in her Discord and trying to hold her accountable for the damaging effect that she has on her audience, which is largely made up of minors, is all just because I'm mean and evil and I like to bully a fellow ED sufferer. This narrative is so disingenuous, it's honestly disgusting. This creator released yet another video slandering me. And while initially I said I wasn't going to make a response, I have been made aware of some things over the last 24 hours that have illuminated why exactly this sudden mob of hate has been thrown my way now of all times, which I am going to address in the end of this video. But before I get into that, he did say in his video that I didn't truly address any of his criticisms. So today I'm going to go point by point and address everything.
Okay, so from the jump, the first thing is that I've kind of noticed and realized from all of this is that Belle has stated in this version that she's going to be going point by point and discussing things individually. I feel like that's what she should have done in the original video, because by omitting certain pieces of information or certain talking points, it kind of led the audience to believe that she didn't have a retaliation for them, and because of that, that's the reason why she didn't talk about these things. So instantaneously from the jump, I just want to say that I actually genuinely love this approach of going point by point, piece by piece, and dissecting everything individually. Now let's find out if we actually agree with her now that she's taken a new approach to how she's going to handle this. Let's take a look.
First, I want you to take a look at this thumbnail and see how intentionally manipulative Willy is being. He took a picture of Eugenia crying about something that had nothing to do with me, and yet he's here trying to paint the picture that somehow I'm responsible for Eugenia crying here. He also went and found the angriest looking still he could from my video, again, to try to paint this image in people's brains that I'm angry and it's making Eugenia cry, because I'm the evil one and Eugenia's the victim.
Okay, that's just like a clickbait thumbnail. Like, I feel like the same could be said for a lot of Belle Aubrey's pictures and thumbnails. If I can find some, I'll put some on the screen. It's kind of what we do as commentators. It's only to make somebody click on the video, but at least in this situation, we can literally say that Willy Mac actually did use the subject matter to create his thumbnail. I mean, that's what we do here on YouTube. We are literally contending with millions and millions of other content creators in order to make our content seen. So honestly, I don't feel like this is a valid criticism at all.
She takes a positive caption on one of Eugenia's photos and twists it in the worst way possible.
Attached to this photo, she has a caption that says, "What you think about yourself is more important than what others think of you." So in this photo, it seems like on the surface, it's about like positivity and self-love and self-care and things like that, which are great and wonderful things. However, I have a hard time believing that this caption is about loving yourself and wanting to take care of yourself, because clearly she is not taking care of herself.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Eugenia Cooney can't even write a positive message without Belle villainizing her.
Yes, it's called toxic positivity or fake positivity, and it's a thing. And it's something Eugenia has been doing for a very, very long time, and you can verify that by checking her Twitter.
I would also basically actually say that I genuinely feel like something like this would probably fall under the parameters of positive affirmations, like affirming yourself. I do it all the time. If I'm having like a really shit week, a shit day, a shit month, or whatever it is, the situation it is that I'm going through in my personal life, I will say positive affirmations to myself in order to build myself up. In fact, positive affirmations honestly has probably got me through the majority of my own personal eating disorder, which is binge eating disorder. So I just kind of feel like what, she's not supposed to love herself and she's not supposed to care about herself. Why are we saying that she's not allowed to love herself or care about herself and exist in the body it is that she literally has no choice to exist in? It wasn't even like it was about other people that could be like literally misconstrued as like passive aggressive. She's saying something positive about herself. Saying positive things about yourself is not toxic positivity because you deem it as toxic positivity. I'm sorry, Belle, that's some bullshit.
For someone talking about the situation so often and energetically, he seems wildly uneducated to talk about it. I find it really weird that in all of his videos, I don't think I've ever heard him mention body checking, which again, Eugenia does. That's what her content is.
In this first clip, Eugenia gets a comment about someone asking her if she could put her fingers around her upper arm. And this is a check that people struggling with eating disorders often do around their wrist, ankles, or if they can, their upper arm to see if they are thin enough to be able to fit it through their fingers.
Can I fit my fingers around my bicep? What's my bicep here? Yeah, I can do that, if that's what you're asking.
Lifting her legs instead of recording her shoes in the shoe haul video or shoe collection video. Like I said earlier, it's, you know, she might be looking in the monitor to see if she's in frame, but a normal person would usually only have their shoes in frame if they're doing a shoe collection or
I feel like this is like literally like a non-point. She's in the middle of a stream. If you're a streamer such as myself, you'll have a stream set up, your cameras are in a certain way. I've shown outfits and not been able to fully show my outfit because my stream setup is set up in a way that my camera is in one specific position. It would be more hassle to me as a streamer for me to take down the camera, to unscrew it from its mount, to bring it over, to set it at a lower angle to show my shoe. So that's like literally a non-point at this point. I feel like we are essentially like grasping at straws at this moment in time in order to create the narrative that like she so desperately wants to show parts of her body. Streaming, and streamers will attest to this, we have a setup. So if she wants to show outfits, the only thing it is that you can really say besides, you know, get a second camera, make sure your camera is set up on a separate scene, and then have like a shoe cam or something like that. Like, you're asking a lot of the creator who's already given you content for free. So I'm sorry, I'm just not buying it. I feel like this is very much grasping at straws. And some of the clips it is that they're showing and what they're about to show as well is a lot of clips from Eugenia Cooney when she was on Younow. Now, Eugenia Cooney was on Younow about 3 or 4 years ago. I don't think they do Younow anymore. And they were one of the biggest influencers on Younow in general. And when she was on Younow, this was a time in Eugenia Cooney's life where she was in denial about her eating disorder. I think she's very aware that she has an eating disorder. She's been, you know, 5150'd, and apparently she's, you know, in the process of getting help and all of that kind of stuff. And I just kind of feel as if going back in time and looking back at a person who was in denial about what it is that they were going through is probably not the best or helpful to the current situation, because people change, situations change. If we go back to myself, who was also on Younow back in those times, I'm sure you would be able to find clips of me saying I'm plus size, I'm proud, I love myself, fuck y'all. And do I still hold that same belief structure right now? I still have a level of self-love, but I also now don't try and negate the fact that I, you know, could be unhealthy at a certain size. And I definitely did make myself unhealthy at a certain size because I'm no longer in denial of that. I'm not the same person that I was 3 years ago on Younow. So I feel like all of these clips are just really just an unfair judgment on the person that Eugenia Cooney is today, which is the person that we really truly should be discussing.
The video is titled My Response and Why YouTube Agrees With Me. They definitely don't, but we'll get to that.
Where's your proof that they don't? Because you spend a lot of time in your video going over the need for having proof and receipts for everything, but I don't see you bringing forward any proof or receipts for what you said in your video. You know, I did provide proof that my video was flagged for harmful and dangerous content. You know, the clause that actually does contain something about eating disorders. And all you have to provide as counterproof or like counter evidence is this half-baked conjecture that for some reason the YouTube bots aren't sensitive enough or intelligent enough to see that my video wasn't actually pro-Anna.
Belle, the proof is literally in the pudding, right? It's literally right there in front of you. If the original content creator's content wasn't flagged and taken down for the same reason of harmful content, yet yours was, then there has to be a differentiating reason as to why your content was taken down. Your content was most likely taken down because the bots had recognized that you used the word pro-Anna in your title. Your video was possibly taken down for harmful content because unlike Eugenia Cooney, who was literally just sitting there doing her clothing haul, trying on things and explaining how much she likes or dislikes products, you literally honed in and zoomed in on parts of her body, was speaking in graphic details about her body, alluding to the notion that she was specifically creating pro-Anna content for her audience simply by existing and showing her body. Like, there's a lot of things that you did that were outside of the parameters of a simple clothing haul. So what YouTube have seen is Eugenia Cooney's thin person has now done a clothing haul, and what they've seen from you is that you have created a video surrounding pro-Anna content, which pro-Anna will flag, it will definitely flag as harmful content for YouTube. YouTube's bots aren't looking at the content itself. YouTube's bots are looking for signifiers of what the content could entail. So when you have a video that is saying pro-Anna, 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 guess what? They're going to go, maybe this is a pro-Anna video. And as sophisticated as you want these YouTube bots to be, these are exactly the same YouTube bots that were flagging people's videos for nudity from all of the big content creators, big and small, when there was no nudity included in the video. And as I've said previously, I've had a similar situation happen with one of my videos where I got flagged for harmful and dangerous content as well. In fact, it was child that I got flagged for, and that was when I was discussing the family of 5 situation. Now obviously YouTube removed all videos from family of 5 that did contain and things of that nature, but content creators such as myself who were discussing it in graphic detail also ended up getting flagged as part of the community guidelines and safety towards children. I appealed that and lost the appeal. So a part of me feels as if you should be just somewhat grateful that YouTube have allowed that content on this platform.
Thinspo exists, pro-Anna exists, shock content exists. Whether you like it or not, influencers do have a responsibility to their audience, because with a platform comes influence, and with influence comes responsibility. That's just how it works. That's why we have TOS.
When you actually look at Eugenia's content, what is it? Video games, clothes, and makeup. She's doing the same thing as everyone else on this website.
No, she's not doing the same thing as everyone else. She's producing Thinspo, she's body checking, and she's producing content which is actively hurting her audience regardless of how many people ask her to stop.
I don't know, I feel like it's extremely telling the fact that the only clips that we're able to find is literally like one clip from a stream that could possibly be more recently, and the rest of the clips are from like a really low quality Younow stream where people were able to catch her by asking her to do things, like asking her to actively body check and then being surprised when they body check. That's not like so crazy that like that is what now you're equating to body checking, that she actively and aggressively knew that that's what she was supposed to do and she just wanted to show her audience. And I need to stress this to Belle, just because something is triggering to you doesn't mean that that person doesn't deserve to be on the platform. That's not how it works. You being triggered is your responsibility. I cannot explain that. I cannot express that enough. You being triggered is your responsibility, and your responsibility alone. We are adults here on this platform, and you can sit there and say, what about the children? Oh, will somebody help the children? Until the end of time. But the point of the matter is, Belle, is that you are responsible for yourself. Their parents are responsible for them. There is YouTube Kids for under 13s for a reason, and anyone from 13 to 18 years old who is watching Eugenia content should be monitored by their parents. And if they aren't, unfortunately, that is the world that we live in, and we just have to deal with it. Some kids grow up with parents and some kids grow up without parents. I grew up without a father. Most other children grew up with an active father present in their life? Is it now everybody else's fault for having that privilege of having that extra parent? No, because that's not the way the world works. We handle and deal with the cards that we are dealt as individuals. Stop passing the blame and passing the book to Eugenia Cooney because you want her to be the villain. She's not the villain because you want her to be the villain.
The part is, she's doing all of it with a smile on her face while telling everyone that she is completely fine, normalizing the idea that she is okay, that she is not sick, and that this is normal, healthy, and fine.
Do you want to gain weight? Xavier, no, I don't want to gain weight.
Once again, this is another Younow clip. Like, sis hasn't been on Younow in years, like literal years. And this was a point in her life where she was in denial about her weight loss, her rapid weight loss. Like, we know this. This is Eugenia Cooney pre-5150.
Really mean there's like a problem or anything. Not everyone really wants to gain weight, you know? So no, I'm not like trying to gain weight. There's no reason why, I just don't feel like I need to.
Other creators are not doing that, and you know that. This is the part where being responsible for your influence comes in. If you look at their community guidelines page, you'll see that there's a bunch of different ones, but if you scroll down, you'll see one that says harmful and dangerous content. And if you read through it, it says eating disorders. Content that praises, glorifies, or encourages viewers to imitate anorexia or other eating disorders.
As we've discussed, Eugenia's content doesn't do that, but Belle just doesn't seem to understand.
Where have you been for the last year? What are you talking about? Yes, it does. When she's producing this type of content, and then she goes around and tells her impressionable young audience,
What is this kind of content? What is this kind of content? She makes makeup tutorials. She makes clothing hauls. She makes video games. She makes streams where she talks to her audience. She does kawaii haul unboxings. Like, this is what she does. She does nothing different to any other content creator. If we put some of the stuff it is that she's doing versus some of the stuff it is that Trisha Paytas doing, these two content creators are literally doing the exact same thing. She's no different to anybody else besides the way that she looks. And I feel as if the anti-Eugenia Cooney fan base that seems to be happening at this very moment in time are now so incisive on asking her personal questions about her weight loss, her eating disorder, the things it is that she's going through, that it's almost become somewhat unavoidable for her to deal with. She's faced with that every single time that she streams. Y'all won't just let this girl be and deal with her mental health issues in private the way that they should be dealt with.
YouTube actually responded, "Thanks for the info. Mind following her Twitter account so we can move the conversation to DMs?" Belle accepted, and this is what she relayed of the conversation. YouTube just said they can't identify any TOS violations with Eugenia.
That would be because the TOS does not have an issue with people trying on clothing. Just you. That's very much a you problem.
YouTube doesn't agree with you. They agree with me.
yeah, because YouTube never allows profit to get in the way of their good judgment, does it? That's completely ludicrous. The idea that any corporation would prioritize profit above, doing what's right is just a completely ridiculous idea.
She then says this means ad revenue is more important to YouTube than protecting their community.
Yeah, it's so awful to try to use your platform to keep kids safe on the internet instead of talking about
Oh my god, Belle, sweetheart, Belle. There are so many content creators here on the platform that it is literally insane. For a channel of Eugenia Cooney's size, she does not make the amount of views that you expect them to make. She has over 3 million subscribers, and most times her videos reach 100 to 200,000 views. Very rarely, and only in the cases where the attention has been brought up from the anti-Eugenia Cooney crew about a particular video where she looks extra thin, do we then see an extreme boost in Eugenia Cooney's numbers. The fact of the matter is that people just aren't watching Eugenia Cooney as much as you want people to watch Eugenia Cooney. In fact, Pastel Belle, there are videos of you critiquing Eugenia Cooney's videos that actually have more views than Eugenia Cooney's videos themselves. Eugenia Cooney is not valued in that same way by YouTube. She's not favored. She's not even in the top 10%, not even in the top 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% of YouTube. She's not in the top criteria of YouTube. YouTube aren't going to prioritize her in the same way they're going to prioritize the David Dobrik's or the Logan Pauls or the Jake Pauls or the Shane Dawsons. We are not in the 10 million plus category. YouTube simply doesn't care in the way that you want YouTube to care. And it's not about views and it's not about money. It's simply just due to your graphic description and depiction of Eugenia Cooney. I'm surprised it's still allowed on the platform.
I'm not surprised that the bot that hands out strikes would hear her use terms like pro-Anna and mistakenly take down her video. Videos wrongly go down on YouTube all the time. It happens to everybody if you're around long enough.
Do you, Willy Mac, have proof that my video was taken down because bots false flagged it as being pro-Anna content? Do you have receipts for that? You don't. Oh, okay, that's cool, because I actually do have receipts that my video was taken down because it was flagged.
Hi, Pastel Belle. Our team has reviewed your content and unfortunately we feel like it violates our harmful and dangerous policy. We've removed the following content from YouTube. After that point, Pastel Belle had the chance to appeal it. Now, if this was a manual human review that was done by YouTube, they would have stated that it was a manual human review. So that would lead me to believe that it was actually the bots that made this decision and not YouTube themselves. The fact that she was able to appeal it for a human review would let you know that it is bots and not humans making these decisions. It was the bots that deemed it as harmful and dangerous content. That's the proof you need. If you need a secondary human review, that is the proof. YouTube don't provide more than one human review. Otherwise, they would have humans reviewing shit all day, every day, and there are over 50 million content creators on the YouTube platform. They simply don't have the time, Belle. It is not a you problem. It is not a Eugenia is being protected by YouTube conspiracy. It's just YouTube, and you are not valued more or less than any other content creator, and Eugenia Cooney is simply not making them enough money for them to give two single shits. There are channels out here, even the commentary bros, who are making hell of a lot more views than Eugenia Cooney. Trust me, they don't care about her. And even when the video was manually reviewed and deemed by YouTube as acceptable by a human reviewer, that still, for some bizarre reason, just isn't enough for you. But yet, once again, we want to make Eugenia Cooney the victim so bad that the broken system of YouTube is actually now Eugenia Cooney's fault as well.
This is not TV. This is not PBS. There's no focus group making sure this content appeals to everybody. That means it's up to parents to make sure they know what their kid is watching. You wouldn't let your kid run around the streets talking to homeless people unsupervised, so why are you letting them do that online? Eugenia Cooney does not run a daycare. She is not responsible for your kid.
Yes, and here we get to the crux of the disagreement between my stance and Willy's. Now, Willy seems to think that it is the sole responsibility of the parent to micromanage what their child watches. You know how every parent is just watching their child 24/7 and has endless hours to make sure that their child isn't watching anything that's inappropriate? Now, let's say that your child is watching something and it's like content that's marketed towards children, and then all of a sudden, the YouTuber starts doing drugs in the middle of it. Now, would you say that's the fault of YouTube or the YouTuber for pushing that content out and for marketing it to children? Or is it the fault of the parents for trusting YouTube and for believing that content that is marketed towards children would be child-friendly? Now, Willy seems to think that it is solely the responsibility of the parent.
In order to be on YouTube, you need to be 13 plus. There is a demographic of people who are on YouTube who are 13 to 18 years old. Now, without having a look at Eugenia Cooney's analytics, neither you or I can sit down and say that there are children within her audience or how much of a percentage of her audience are children. Because I can say for me and my content, with 100% certainty, the amount of people within the 13 to 18 bracket who are watching my content is literally 1.5% of my audience. Therefore, there is no incentive to me as a grown adult for me to create my content protecting that age demographic. Any of those people who watch me at that age demographic are doing so at their own discretion, and if their parents aren't monitoring what it is that they are doing and what it is that they are watching, then that is entirely their fault. Now, Belle is about to bring up the excuse of there are some people who don't have parents, who don't, whose parents may be working really hard, who may have bad parents, and unfortunately that's just the way of the world. That's the world that we live in, and unfortunately not everybody gets an equal chance in life. It just is what it is, sis. But we are talking about somebody who you are accusing of triggering other people, not necessarily somebody who is creating harmful and dangerous content towards a certain demographic. So your whole section of the children, won't somebody please think of the children, is actually just complete bullshit. Whilst it's not expected of every parent to be able to sit down and micromanage what it is that their children are watching, you're expecting a person with an audience of over 3 million to micromanage what it is that each individual is doing. Please tell me that that makes sense. So it's completely unreasonable to expect one parent to look after the well-being of their child and make sure that they are keeping an eye on, keeping a tab on, putting parental parental locks on certain aspects of the internet to protect the well-being of their child, but we're expecting a content creator with a subscriber count of 3 million to then micromanage what it is that each individual watches. Then, Belle, under those circumstances, your content I would also deem as no longer being child-friendly. Your detailed descriptions of other people's bodies, the pro-ana world, anorexia nervosa, bulimia, other eating disorders is not something that I feel is appropriate to expose to young kids, especially when you're using other content creators as the talking point of all of these educational topics. You can frame it as educational all that you want, but as far as I'm concerned, from your videos, I've been able to learn and understand about the pro-ana community, how to body check, where to find like-minded people. So by that same merit, do you think that your content should also be age restricted? Do you think that your content should also not be viewable by the masses of YouTube? Because the expectations it is that you are placing on Eugenia Cooney are just like so far-fetched. As content creators, we literally have no control over who watches our content. So by that same merit, for the small amount of percentage of people who I imagine are between the ages of 13 to 18 years old who are watching your content, are you going to significantly modify your content for them to cater specifically to that demographic, to make sure that you don't offend that demographic too? Do you think that that's acceptable? No?
Also doesn't seem to acknowledge the fact that not all children have parents who are able to do that. Not all children have parents who are interested in what they're doing and are going to keep them safe. Do those children just not deserve to be safe on the internet because their parents don't care? What about all the children out there who don't have parents that are going to sit and micromanage everything that they watch? What about the children who have parents who work full-time jobs or don't care or don't know about the internet or just assume that YouTube is safe? Like, is it the fault of the children? Because the children are the ones that are going to suffer, not the parents.
I made a point about this on social media, on Twitter the other day, and I just kind of want to make this point again to you guys. Now, when I was much younger, I was introduced to a program called Happy Tree Friends. We all know what Happy Tree Friends is, right? It is the most gruesome, most disgusting thing in the whole entire world. Extremely violent. Think about Itchy and Scratchy on acid. It's like definitely not for children. I would never let my daughter watch that. Definitely not before the age of 14, that's for sure. And a lot of people got upset with the show for being marketed towards kids with their cutesy design and the way that they look and all of this kind of stuff, but it was clear that this was not a kids show, it was for adults. And no matter how many provisions that Happy Tree Friends put at the beginning of their internet show, that it was 18s only click through if you're 18 years old, they would still unfortunately have minors who would take a look at some of the content it was that they were making. Is it the fault of Happy Tree Friends that their content existed out here on the internet, or was it up to the individuals of the minors, their parents, to monitor what it is that they were doing on the internet and the kind of content it was that they were consuming? Because also another option, Belle, is just for people not to allow their kids to use the internet. That is literally a legitimate thing to do. If you do not have the time, have a full-time job, aren't able to monitor, have no idea how to put parental guidelines and provisions in and watch over your child's content, you can also choose to not have your child have internet access until you are around. That is also an option. We as individuals, we as parents need to stop allowing the internet and TV to literally raise our children. That is no way to be raised, and that's honestly a neglectful way to raise your child. By the same merit, somebody in my comment section also mentioned that late at night Cartoon Network turns into Adult Swim, and there was a show on there called Robot Chicken that actually used children's toys to depict certain things, and it was definitely, once again, not for kids, even though it was on a kids channel. Now, is it the fault of the channel for existing, or the parents who let their child stay up late enough to watch Robot Chicken? So like I said, if something is inappropriate, if something is triggering, it is up to you as an individual on how you deal with it. And if you are a minor, it is up to your parents. Stop expecting other people to change the way that they create content to suit you because you are personally triggered.
Like what, we just don't care about them? Just like screw them, there's nothing we can do about them? That's the best solution you have? No, I think that that's why TOS exists. It's to protect children and to add another barrier to keep children safe on the internet. Because whether or not you like it, children are always going to use it.
So it's literally really funny to me in this screenshot, and I'll post it up on the screen in full screen so that you can see it without my face there. You can literally say, who may use this service? And it says age requirements. This is something that she's posted in her own video, right? And it says, if you are a parent or a legal guardian of a user under the age of 18, by allowing your child to use this service, you are subject to the terms and conditions agreement and are responsible for your child's activity on the service. You can find tools and resources to help you manage your family's experience on YouTube. Literally, this is something that she put out at the same time as saying, what about the children? Yes, sis, what about the children? Even YouTube explicitly states it is up to the parents of the kids, the parents and the guardians of the kids, to monitor their use of the service. And you put this in your video. You read this. Well, I hope you did before flashing it up on the screen like a moron. Because I find it very, very convenient how it cuts off just before we get into that terms of service. But honestly, if we're going to say that YouTube agrees with you, YouTube agrees with me that it is up to the parent to deal with their child's shiznai. As far as I'm concerned, honestly and truly, the other stuff surrounding the minors and the Discord servers and the moderators handling minors, that is an entirely separate situation from the Thinspo pro Anna allegations that Belle and others have made about Eugenia Cooney. However, what I will say is there has actually now since been a response from Repzilla. Repzilla, if you guys will remember from my previous stream, the last stream it is that I did, I will leave a clip in this video, basically said that he was, you know, encouraging somewhat of Belle Aubrey for them to make a video in response and in retaliation to this whole entire situation. Are you friendly with Pastel Belle?
Yeah, I am.
Do you slide into the DMs?
Do what again?
Do you slide into the DMs?
Whatever she's into, that's her business. I don't know anything other than, like, I told her, like, she should probably respond to those things, you know. But like I said, I don't agree with, like, everything that other people stand by.
So you said that she should possibly respond to them. You've kind of said, you've said to her that she should respond to them, yeah?
I think so. I think if it was something that was more directed at me, I think
Now, the reason I asked Repzilla if he had slid into the DMs is because I've noticed personally that there has been like a documented history with Repzilla where he literally encourages people to do certain things and then like dips out when it doesn't suit him. For instance, with the whole Rewired Soul situation that happened, there was the encouragement, and then after the encouragement, they kind of like left them and fed them to the wolves.
Funnily enough, when the popular opinion shifted, Repzilla pretended like he never knew Chris and tried burying the previous friendship by deleting videos in defense of him. The reason I mention this is that it shows that Repzilla has a habit of being friendly with people and then throwing them under the bus when it benefits him.
And I kind of had a feeling that a similar situation like this would take place, considering how the internet's mentality surrounding Eugenia Cooney has shifted. So it wasn't surprising to me when he decided to double back on some of the things it is that he said. So he said, I want to make it clear about my stance on the Eugenia Cooney situation, how I have briefly discussed the temporary removal or age restriction in at least 2 videos. I no longer believe that this is productive to even discuss a temporary removal. My original opinions were formed from situations separate from her illness. I think this is a critical discussion that needs to be had and a difficult one that goes beyond commentary YouTube videos. I've removed my mention of the petition link from said videos in accordance with and apologize to Eugenia for any stress I may have caused concerning her illness. Now, a lot of people are applauding him for making this stance, and honestly, I applaud him too, but I can also understand, and I have a feeling that Belle may be feeling like she was, you know, double-crossed in this situation, because it seems as if, especially from an outsider's perspective, that he may have encouraged her, and then she went out and rode with her pitchfork, and then poof, he was gone. Anyway, with this being said, Willy Mac has already said in another stream that he won't be going any further. He won't be discussing this situation further. He feels as if anything he says from this point will just be him repeating himself. So he's just going to leave Belle to have the last word if that's what Belle wants. However, I did want to kind of show you guys something. A video it is that I thought was really important. In Belle Aubrey's original video on the entire situation, my response and why YouTube agrees with me, she mentions a bunch of commentators that people should check out. One of those people being of Herbs and Altars. So obviously I wanted to do my part to take a look at of Herbs and Altars content and see what kind of things it is that they discuss. And I was really shocked to see one portion of a video they did on Eugenia Cooney 2 months ago, which is how to help not to hurt eating disordered people online. And honestly, this should be like a playbook for Belle to take a look at, because some of the stuff it is that they discuss, honestly, if Belle had just truly effing listened, they would have known how to deal with somebody who has an eating disorder online, because there has to be completely different ways of dealing with it. Belle was fortunate, and I say fortunate, to be able to deal with their eating disorder in private. But when it's on display for the whole world to see, there has to be completely different guidelines set in place. So I do want to play a section of this video from Of Herbs and Altars so that you guys can hear something it is that Belle should have heard from one of the sources that she cited.
And also Of Herbs and Altars' entire channel is just phenomenal. Of Herbs and Altars has also suffered with an ED themselves, and their channel is just so informative, and I think it's one of the best channels if you want to understand what it's like to suffer with an ED.
And then one of the final points I want to make is that if your ED'd friend says that they are in therapy, that they are trying, that perhaps they have made an effort to stabilize their weight and stop losing any of these positive steps, please believe them, or at least tell them you believe them. It costs nothing to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but if you don't give them the benefit of the doubt, it will be enormously harmful both to your friendship and to them. Because if you are trying your hardest in recovery, but people keep telling you off for not trying, you tend to think, well, why bother even trying? If I'm going to be accused of doing something and I'm struggling so hard not to do it, and then people are shouting at me anyway, why should I even try? Where is the reward everyone promised me for trying? I'm just getting slammed all the harder. And I need my coping mechanism all the more now because my friends are turning on me because they don't believe me. It's horrible to be accused of lying and to be misunderstood over something so important. So please give them the benefit of the doubt. What trying hard with an eating disorder looks like is different for everyone. And if you're talking about someone who's been sick for a very long time, particularly, what trying hard and improving look like may not look like trying harder improving to you. It can be hard to believe them at times, but I know that the situation they're in and the length of their ED and everything they're going through, it has to be baby steps with them, and anything they're doing to improve their health has to be applauded and has to be encouraged. You know, it's like this tiny little flower that, you know, if you're cruel to it in any way, it's a tiny little flower and it's going to die and it's going to go out, and that is the flame of their hope dead, and that is a very mixed metaphor, but you know what I mean? You have to nurture this little flower before it's going to get to a size that you can actually see and you can actually notice and you can actually go, wow, yeah, I can see that you're trying now. Anything that can be seen as a positive step, please applaud it as a positive step. Give encouragement. Like, positivity over negativity with eating disorders, always, I would say. Sometimes tough love can feel tempting, as I say, speaking from experience. But I think it always has to be kindness and it always has to be encouragement, particularly if you're talking about someone online like Eugenia Cooney, who is being attacked constantly for their weight, for their perceived toxicity, who has had so much cruelty directed at them. The only way they are going to listen to you is if you change the record completely. So speaking specifically of Eugenia Cooney and anyone else in her position, i.e. an ED person with a social media platform, I think the best thing for her would not be to have everyone just abandon her. That's not going to help. But what would be amazing would be if YouTube also had the mute word filter and she was able to mute all eating disordered words on every platform. And that would mean that the only comments that were reaching her were actually about what she was doing in the videos, in the pictures. It would be like, wow, that's a cool outfit, or oh, you look so happy today, or oh, I like your hair today, or that actually is a really cool makeup look that you're doing in this video. If everything she was hearing was nothing to do with her eating disorder and was purely about her hobbies, I think she would actually start to re-engage with her audience because she wouldn't feel so attacked and every comment wouldn't feed into the ED. There is such a thing on pro-anorexia forums as mean spo. This is essentially thinspiration pictures with mean quotes written over them. It is basically a way for people to bully themselves sicker. However, if you're someone with a social media platform, you don't need mean spo, because all you have to do is Google yourself or go to your comment section and you will find like way more triggering, mean, harsh shit than any mean spo post I've ever seen on any pro-anorexia website. So she has this triggering on tap, even if people have the best of intentions and they're saying, I used to love watching you, but you're really stressing me out. They might have good intentions, but that's going to make her tense up inside and feel anxious, and her appetite's going to be dead, and you know? Whereas if she went to her comment section and everything was just about her hobbies and her eating disorder was just irrelevant, people were still supporting her, people were still there for her, but they were talking about the stuff she actually wants to talk about. Eugenia must be sick to death, and you can tell she's sick to death of it when you see snippets from her live streams and people bring up her weight. I know she seems snarky and awful about it because she's quite sarcastic and quite glib about the comments she gets, but she's heard it 1,000 times a day, every day, for the past I don't know how many years. And no one has the patience of a saint to deal with that kind of stuff. She's sick to death of hearing it. I'm sure she hears it at home too. I'm sure she hears it on the street. She's sick to death of hearing it, and it's clearly not helping. But if suddenly people started interacting with her about actual friendship-related topics, you know, her hobbies, the stuff she's doing in videos, all the positive stuff, just like a real friend would do, because she doesn't seem to have many friends in her life, which I think is a bit of a curse of a lot of YouTubers, particularly mentally ill ones. If what she was getting online was like a friendship interaction, instead of this attack constantly on her weight, I think that would be the best thing for her. And, you know, sadly, there is no way to impose that on the whole internet unless, as I say, YouTube suddenly installs the mute word filter and you can just shut out the noise. Because us, as people who have EDs or who have recovered from EDs, sorry to say it, and I am every bit as guilty as anyone else, we can be the most problematic people when it comes to helping others with EDs because we think we know it all. We think we have absolute license to barge in and say, look, I had an ED, therefore I know what's going on. This is what you should do to help. And I always thought that was the right thing to do. And I've since learned it's not. It isn't. Not in every case. If you know that person well, sure. But if you don't, all you can talk about are the surface level stuff, which means you can help. You can give harm reduction tips. You can make sure, with all the knowledge you've accrued over the course of your ED, you can make sure they're getting their electrolyte levels checked if they purge. You're making sure that they get enough protein, that they're not over-exercising, that they're staying hydrated. You know, all the other things I said about making sure they've got therapy, their home life is stable. You can give the kind of behaviour-related knowledge that you've accrued, but you still don't know what the trauma is that they're going through. Therefore, the fact that we tend to think we understand everything and can absolutely give our gospel opinion on it, we can't and we don't. And I have been hugely guilty of that over the years. And I think it's been very, very good for me to realise, look, just because you were there too doesn't mean you know what someone's going through.
I cannot express how much I genuinely believe that Pastel Belle needs to hear this. Because this is somebody from her community. This is somebody else who has suffered with, you know, anorexia nervosa, the specific eating disorder. And, you know, somebody who's also said that they are guilty of doing the exact same things. And the point that they're trying to make is that positivity always in these kind of situations overrides negativity. So I really, truly want Pastel Belle to think about the fact that that one day that Eugenia Cooney, you know, posted her little butterfly and basically said, you know, it doesn't matter what others think about you. It's only what you think about yourself. And try to find that moment of peace, that moment of clarity, that moment of happiness, that you turned it into a sinister moment to make her the villain for loving herself just for 1 minute in one day. Whilst in tandem, requesting that the entire internet take away the one thing, the one specific joy that she may have in her life that makes her happy, which is creating content and feeling good in those small, quiet moments in her brain where she's not telling herself that she's a piece of shit. If you truly want something good for Eugenia Cooney, give her love, not hate. If you truly want something good for Eugenia Cooney, don't try and take away the small joy in her life. And if you truly want something good for Eugenia Cooney and for yourself, step back. Because you've made Eugenia Cooney a much bigger problem than she actually is. As far as the other stuff pertaining to minors and being critical on that, that is an entirely separate situation that definitely should be spoken about and should be dealt with. But when it pertains to Eugenia Cooney's eating disorder, that's not your place. It's not my place. It's not any of our place. But I can definitely say that this has been dealt with a hell of a lot more compassion more recently than what I've seen in the past 5 years of YouTube. Anyway, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of content. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like it, if you don't, I don't give a shit anyway. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification with the bell so that you guys get a notification every single time that Paige posts new content. Right, I am out. This has been a long-ass video. And until next time, you beautiful, amazing, badass bitches. It's been Paige. Bye.
Keep that same energy and fall all the way back. All the way back. Lean